Miami Condo Mondays is a live podcast on the first workday of the week at 4 p.m. South Florida time. The program features former journalist and current Wall Street consultant Peter Zaleski of the Miami Condo Investing Club and former lender and veteran condo broker Jenny Huertas of CVRRealty.com. Recorded weekly in greater downtown Miami, this 1-hour discussion will provide a refreshing and sometimes controversial perspective on the state of the South Florida condo market from a pair of seasoned real estate professionals who do not always agree. The program won't tell you what to think about the South Florida condo market, but will give you something to think about before buying, selling, taking listings, or financing units. This podcast is not authorized by the Miami real estate industry and will quite possibly annoy many of its figureheads. Welcome to this week's episode of Miami Condo Mondays, broadcast live on the social media accounts of Peter Zaleski and Jenny Huertas. Happy Monday, Miami. This is Miami Condo Mondays. It's a 1-hour podcast in which we are going to talk about what's going on in the South Florida condo market. I'm Peter Zaleski. I'm a condo consultant. I'm also the founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club, and I also do expert witness. So anybody suing anybody related to condos, give me a call. I'm joined here by my partner, Jenny Huertas. She's a broker owner of CVR Realty. Check out her website, CVRRealty.com. She previously was a financier. Now she has been a broker close to 20 years. Jenny and I are going to talk about hot topics going on every Monday at 4 o'clock live. So make sure to tune in. You can get it on Jenny's Substack or my Substack. If you want to check it out on Jenny's Substack, go to Jenny Huertas, MiamiBroker.substack.com. On mine, go to MiamiCondo.club. We're also available on social media, whether it be LinkedIn, it'd be Facebook, or even YouTube. So, Jenny, what are we going to be talking about this week? We're talking about the November numbers, the first month of the critical South Florida winter buying season. We got the numbers in. They're tentative because today's December the 1st. Typically takes a few days for everything to get processed. But we're going to tell you what's going on, and it's not good news. So all that being said, let me go ahead and bring on Jenny Huertas, my partner from CVRRealty.com. What's going on, Jenny? How are you? Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. Tell us what the vibe is like in Miami.
Okay, happy Monday and happy 1st of December. Here we go. This is Art Week season. Everybody's going, the traffic is going crazy. Now you need to get in the boat to go to Art Basel in Miami Beach. So,
Well, time out. When is Art Basel? And tell everybody what Art Basel is.
Art Basel is from the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and the Miami Convention Center is a huge, famous art fair. It's based on Art Basel in Switzerland, I believe.
Yep.
And it's been here for years and years. Everybody's in town. I mean, real estate and art hand to hand, art collectors are also condo collectors. So here we go. The money is here. I have a couple of super yachts across the street from Marina Blue, $1 billion in two boats, huge, 357 feet. They're huge. And one of them is the one for the co-founder of Google.
Google, like the search company, the AI company with Gemini. So wait,
Yes.
let me get this straight. So AI is blowing up right now. They're celebrating 3 years of AI coming on the scene because Microsoft cut a deal with ChatGPT. So it's 3 years now, the anniversary. Everybody's starting to embrace AI. And you're telling me one of the founders of Google, who had been retired and was kicking back, scratching his ass, then he got called back to Silicon Valley because Google was falling behind. Now he's on vacation in Miami in the end of November, beginning of December, and he's got his yacht parked across from where the office is at Marina Blue in the 800 block of Biscayne Boulevard, across from the Casella Center.
Yes. I'm sure these people never retire. They probably break deals all the time. They do business all the time, even when they're retired. So I'm sure that's why they're here. Every time I see that particular yacht, I know is our week.
So you see that yacht every single year.
Yes, and they also come like in the heart of the winter, like February. I always see that boat there.
Now,
yacht. It's not a boat.
Yeah, Jenny, to sort of set the scene, because I don't know where the audience is. They could be anywhere around the world.
we're shooting this live, and then we're going to go ahead and make it on demand, and it should be up later this afternoon. Well, later this evening, because right now it's 4 o'clock. Remember, every 4 o'clock every day, I do a live podcast. On Mondays, you get Jenny Huertas and myself. The other days, I talk about different topics. But Jenny, let's sort of set the scene. So, kind of the way we look at it is, you got the winter buying season, which is November through April, and then you got the summer buying season, which is going to go from May through October. And traditionally, what happens is people come into town. Maybe they came in 2 weeks ago because they went to the book fair. Maybe they came in this weekend because it was Thanksgiving, U.S. Holiday, United States. Then you had Black Friday, which is when all the deals were going on. So maybe they came in this week, or maybe they're coming in next week because of next weekend because of Art Basel, this international event. It started in Switzerland. It's held in Miami. It's been doing it for like 25 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, I think, in Hong Kong. There might be a Paris one too, for what it's worth. But everybody basically descends upon Miami. Art collectors, they come here. Why? The weather's great. It's also a carnival-like atmosphere. There's all kinds of events going on, not only at the main event, which is at the Miami Beach Convention Center, but there's also pop-up events. They go everywhere. Anybody wants to get a sense of what it's all about. There was probably one of the last great American novelists, a guy called Tom Wolfe. He wrote a book about Miami called Back to Blood, one of his final books before he ultimately passed. And Back to Blood, it focuses a lot about Art Basel. So if you guys need something to read this holiday season, let me give you three. Number one, if you want Miami, it's fiction, but it's based on reality. It's called Back to Blood by Tom Wolfe. Number two, it's called Bubble in the Sun. It's a nonfiction description of the developers who basically created the 1920s Florida land boom. And then number three is going to be 1929 by Andrew Ross Sorkin. He is a New York Times columnist. He also he anchors the morning show on CNBC called Squawk Box. So those three books, that will give you a great sense of Miami as well as Miami real estate. But because we're in winter buying season, Jenny, everybody's coming to town. They all feel like, they've been working hard. Maybe they made some money in the stock market run up, and they feel like they deserve a condo. Maybe it's going to be a second home. Maybe ultimately they'll retire into it. So they come here for one thing, and then they start getting convinced that they love this area, and then they might want to go out and buy a condo. And ultimately, they're going to shop around while they're doing stuff. Maybe they come a few times during the winter. And many of the deals close as we start to get towards the end of the winter and we go into the summer when it's hot, it's humid, and there's always a hurricane warning. Am I missing anything set in a big picture?
No, the big picture is set perfectly.
Okay, perfect.
So go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so Jenny, this was Black Friday. This is when everything is discounted. This is when all the retailers really try to unload things. They tend to discount it. Why do they call it Black Friday? The saying goes is right around this time of year, the retailers are finally in the black. This is when they're making their profit. This is when they're able to unload a lot of the inventory leading into the holiday season. So Black Friday is traditionally a time. Now, back in the day, Jenny, I don't know if you remember this, people used to queue up overnight and wait, or they would eat their Thanksgiving dinner, and then they would rush out and stand in line because at 12:01, the doors would open, and it would be a mob scene. It would be like rugby, like a scrum in rugby. People were going in there throwing elbows. You got like, young guys elbowing out like grandma to try to get their hands on deals because there were only so many TVs that were like, $50, $100, and everybody wanted it. Fast forward to where we are today, everybody's doing it online, and it's no longer just one day. They're stretching it out for the entire week, and depending on how retail sales go, they might stretch it out the entire month, leading into whether it be Hanukkah, it would be Kwanzaa, it would be Christmas, it would be anything else.
Yeah, that's similarities what is happening with the happy hours in Miami lately. Like I was in Miami Beach any Thursday in an Italian restaurant. I saw happy hour. I said, what time the happy hour ends? And they say, no, it depends on the manager. So the manager called the hour because they want more people to come in. So yes, you're going to have a discounted wine, but then you want to eat something. So they're trying to do the same thing with merchandise now for big Black Friday. I never understood that concept. For me, obviously, I'm from Colombia. It was very strange to me that you were like, eating with your family, being grateful, and, you're possibly sane, and then you go and knock down people to get a TV. I just thought it was pretty interesting. Now people don't knock themselves down for the TV any longer. It's super interesting. But yes, it is. It is the atmosphere that we always see every year after Thanksgiving. Everybody comes here. Since our Basel is only 3 days at the end of this weekend, the 5, 6, and 7. However, Miami is Miami Art Week, so we have events everywhere. We have here in the Bay, we have in Wynwood, we have events, a lot of events in Miami Beach throughout the week. Also, the developers do certain parties like smaller parties or presentations of artists. I'm gonna go to one of those where they're gonna present the artists and they're gonna talk about their art. It's so interesting. I mean, it's a little chaotic because traffic is impossible, but they figure out that if they have water taxis that are actually free, you can go from Venetian Causeway all the way to Mauritius Gibbs Park, I believe,
Yeah,
in
Maurice Gibb.
Venetia.
Yeah, from the Bee Gees.
Yeah,
Yeah, the park's named after
yeah,
one of the singers
exactly.
from the Bee Gees. It's right
For
there
the
at the Venetian.
villas.
Yeah, the original
Mhm.
bridge that connected the mainland of Miami over
Yeah.
to Miami Beach.
Yeah, so when you go there and they have buses that take you to our Basel. So it's gonna be good because it's free. So you even if you don't go to our Basel, you can access that. I give you that tip if you're interested to attend any event because it's gonna be MacArthur collapses. I was talking to the other day with the Uber driver and he told me I love our Basel. I said, why? He said, because I sit in MacArthur for an hour and I make $200. I don't know, the rates spike so much that they do their day that particular time. So yeah, it is exciting. You can see, everybody in town. So yeah, this is the time to go out and learn about art, meet with people that wanted to come here for business, and guess what? Even find opportunities because now the developers are super uh, willing and able to listen to offers and terms and down payments, and it's a lot of good things for buyers of that caliber. So it could be interesting.
Yeah,
We'll report back.
Jenny, we're going to get into the November numbers, how this year compared to previous years. Remember,
Okay.
we did a report, and I'm a day late. I'm publishing the third part of our 3-part series, taking a look at an instinct you had that this felt like 2007. We ran the numbers for the summer buying season, which goes from May through October, and we found statistically that the summer of 2025 was comparable to where we were in 2007. Remember, that was a great South Florida condo boom and bust of 2002 to 2011. And back then, 2007, what happened is sales fell down and prices were still rising. The reason prices were rising is better quality stuff was trading at a discount. Therefore, it was top heavy. So what I mean by that is if you looked at the median number of transactions, what the price was versus what the average was, it was significantly higher because people were coming in, taking down great stuff at discounts. Kind of like right after the holidays when they take 10 or 20% off something and people start to pick it off because they know it's good quality. By the time it gets to 70% off, it's a XXX sweater that's plaid and you live in Miami and what the hell are you going to do with it? So that's kind of how it plays, kind of how it plays out. So what we're going to do, Jenny, is we're going to release the November numbers. These are, I'd say they're preliminary just because today's December the 1st. They need a little bit of time for deals that maybe were in the works. They need to be updated.
Mhm.
But we're going to get into that. But before we get into that, we'll actually show you stats. We'll give you a great comparison in month 1 of a 6-month long, ever critical, especially this year, winter buying season. But Jenny, before we do that, you mentioned Art Basel. So Art Basel, what happens is there is traffic everywhere, and it goes on. The main event is over on Miami Beach on the Barrier Island, and you got a couple causeways that take you over to the mainland. And then a lot of the parties are going to be in the Wynwood in the Midtown area, even Brickell, downtown. They scatter them all around, but traffic comes to a standstill. So I've spoken to Uber drivers in the past, and what they tell me is during Art Basel, people will get in, and ultimately they're not moving on the streets, not the MacArthur Causeway, that 5-mile
Yeah.
causeway that connects the mainland to the beach. So they'll get in, and then they'll just cancel it because the car's not moving, and they'll just walk, and they can walk quicker than actually taking an Uber because the traffic is so overwhelming. So Jenny, last week I did a podcast. I did it with John Mora. He's got a company called buildtoreach.com. He's the guy who does all the music for all the podcasts. And he used to work for Lyft. Lyft is a competitor of Uber. And I was asking him, I'm like, dude, what's the hustle? How do you get around these hustles? Because they get you with surge pricing. if you wait, if you do this and that. He said what you do is you open it up, you put in your location, and then you don't close it. And after a while, they'll think you've gone elsewhere and they'll lower the price suddenly. Now they wanted initially they'll raise it. Then he says if you ride it out, they'll actually lower the price. So
Interesting.
just a little tip from John. It's kind of like when you go on a website and they say, hey, don't leave, or like you go to buy a car or something, don't leave, we can do something. He says that's the way to work it. Although he also said, though, with these ride sharing services and increasingly probably condominiums, they're pricing things based on what you can afford. So they have data on you. They know what you're willing to spend, and then they price it specifically for you. And John was making a case when we go forward with condos, new construction, there may no longer be a need for condo launch parties. There may no longer be a need for in-house condo salespeople. Why? Because of the collection of data and the $1 million that they spend on a sales center that's going to be torn down in 18 months or 2 years. They can take that money, they can allocate it towards data. They can use AI to try to pinpoint who should they be targeting. And unfortunately, not put on the parties I love, where I get to show up, I drink, I eat, I talk a little bit of, bullshit, and then I leave without buying anything. So, you had made a reference last week that condo developers are moving away from that. They're getting a little bit more selective. And what John said is troubling to me, that we might not have condo launch parties because AI is going to give them the ability to hit buyers or would-be buyers directly. What's your reaction to that?
We definitely had to wait and see, because I believe our role, I know a lot of AI jobs, a lot of jobs are going to be lost in AI, but I think our role as experts, or knowing, that in the trenches of the cities, of the locations and everything, you can have all you want in AI, but it's not the same. I believe, yes, I think we seen the changes as much as the, one-to-one experience, giving the experience to, this particular buyer that could be interesting for them. They don't necessarily have to buy, because a lot of them go shopping around in 4 or 5, and I'm the one that takes them to more than 5 places if they reach, because a lot of them have the same criteria. Remember, there is a lot of competition now on that. Before, it was one beautiful building was unique. Now they
Yes.
all are beautiful and unique in their way. So these people will come to 3 or 4 to see and decide which one they like the most. So I don't know. It could be. I believe depends on the product. It could be like, I can see that, because last year, I believe I went to a hotel where there was nobody in the reception area. It was like a screen say, hey, good evening. What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. Look at the camera, and then they give you the key with the QR code. So it was nobody at the reception. So I thought, oh my God, here we go. There's going to be more receptionists. So yeah, a lot of people is going to lose jobs into AI. I think for real estate, it's going to be an evolution for sure. But I'm not sure it's going to go to that point where they're not going to do the parties or anything like that, because that's part of it, the experience.
But what John says is, if you are a broker who's working in the trenches, like on resale product, there's probably going to be a need. But if you're on the front line, basically selling a project, what really do you bring to the table other than moving paperwork? And why couldn't you just simply go online and pick the type of stuff, or try to offer, you know what I'm saying? So it's a difference between, but put it this way, Jenny. Back in the day, people used travel agents, okay? And then all of a sudden, the industry changed. And when the industry changed, people can book their own flights, their own hotels and stuff. But there's certain groups that still need to use travel agents. A lot of them who do cruises, or those who do like corporate, or maybe weddings, flyaway, something like that.
Right.
So from what he says, that's probably what's going to happen. And new construction would fall under the category of just like, anybody can go in there and look at it versus, the corporate type of travel. That would be the individual broker who really kind of knows the neighborhood. So any thoughts to that?
Yeah, from that point of view, it just makes sense. That will be more, practical, I believe. But I think depends on what type of real estate you're trying to sell in construction. I believe that luxury always gonna have that. The personalization of the experience is part of the luxury. So I probably had less people, more qualified people, probably different, but I don't see that disappearing completely, at least not in my lifetime anyway.
You know, Jenny, one of the reasons I keep hitting on this free construction is I like the free parties. I like to go, I like to eat, I like to drink, and I've been very fortunate enough to be able to partake for quite some time, and my waistline shows it. I've been able to partake in these condo launch parties. So you know, this weekend, what I did for Black Friday, everybody was shopping for stuff. What I shop for is condos. I went out 3 days in a row looking for condo deals. I was going to pre-construction offices looking for stuff. Yeah. And, you know, it was all primarily graded downtown Miami. I put up a series of videos. Anybody wants to see them. I did 1 hour walking tours, if you will, of certain areas. I did one of Flagler Street, which is supposed to be this tech center and a fashion center. Let me tell you, they took the price from $13 million to renovate it to $33 million. It was supposed to take up to 4 years. Right now,
welcome to Miami.
They're looking at 5, maybe 6. Jenny, you know what the distance is of this renovation of Flagler Street? Take a guess on how many blocks for $33 million.
It's probably like 4 blocks.
5 blocks.
That was
$33 million to renovate. And so then, okay, so what do? They're eliminating the curb and they're making it flush. So the road and the sidewalk is flush. But yeah, obviously they got to put lines in, probably sewer, stuff like that. But basically, $33 million and they're about halfway done.
Yeah, and also it's affecting a lot of these business owners because it's taking too long as well. So it's just a typical only Miami sort of story. Unfortunately, it was very promissory when I saw it the first time. The first part of it, I was like, "Wow, this is really cool." It's gonna, because I'm a downtowner. I live and work in downtown. That's what I do. So I was excited about it and say, "Oh my God, what's going on? It's not moving. I don't see anybody working." Yeah, I heard it's pretty bad.
Yeah, they started in May of 2021. Anyways, if anybody's interested, check out the video. Go to miamicondo.club. You'll be able to check out the videos, see all 3. Jenny, what I did yesterday is I took a look at what was going on in the Miami World Center. Miami World Center is an area where it's just like really blowing up, high density, like overwhelming. Now, how do I tie this into the condo launch parties? Well, while I was wandering around, I'm looking at menus. Jenny, some of these places, they want for French fries, they want $12. A personal pizza, $25 to $30. A chicken Parmesan, this might be a deal because in South Beach, they're $50 for a chicken Parmesan with some spaghetti. This place was only $35, so maybe that was the best deal on the street. But what I'm telling you is the prices are so damn expensive. I don't know who's going to occupy these restaurants. And if you watch any of my videos, you'll see there's nobody in the places. Now, maybe they're out shopping or they're doing something, but these places are vacant. But the price tag, I can't imagine you can go for lunch for less than $50 a person in and around the Miami World Center place area.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. I mean, basically,
$50.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you drink one drink, it's always 20% on the top of it. It's just Miami became a really expensive city. I mean, it's just the fact, and it's not for everybody. Remember when the people say, "Oh, Miami's for everybody. Everybody can afford from A to Z." No. I don't think so. I think Miami became a major metropolitan, desirable place, and now you have to pay the price to live in paradise.
Now, what we say in the introduction of the podcast is that Jenny and I aren't going to tell you what to think, but we're going to give you something to think about. We also say that we don't always agree. And I'm going to give you an example where I do not agree with Jenny. I think prices are going down. And from everything I'm seeing, I'm adamant that they're going down. When do I think they go down? I think they go down on the other side of the second half of the winter. I think when we get around the boat show as well as Coconut Grove Arts Festival, which will be sometime in February, then I think you start to see some discounting. But right now, I get the feel that the developers and everything I was shopping, they all have a stiff upper lip. Let's call it the British approach. They have that stiff upper lip. They don't want to reflect anything. Why? Because we're 17% of the way through the winter buying season now that we're in December. And I think when we get on the other side, when we start to get into February and they know they're on the wrong side of the bell curve, then I think you're going to start to see some adjustments. So, that pricing, I don't know that it holds. And $30 for a personal pizza, $12 for French fries, I don't think that stuff's holding personally. So, this is for the audience to agree. You know, what do they think? Is it going to hold? Is it not going to hold? But Jenny, one thing that we can agree on is that what the numbers are, and the numbers aren't necessarily good for November.
Right.
First month, again, winter buying season. Winter goes from November through April, just to reinforce it. So we're going to track it every single month, and we're going to give you real-time analysis. These are preliminary numbers because we're on the first day of December. Therefore, some deals that are in the works, they need to get updated. Once they get updated, they'll come their way through. But it's the first look at what happened in November, this ever critical time. When people come to town, they start rolling in for events. They start looking at purchasing properties. Maybe some of these people began right after Labor Day. They wanted to have someplace for the winter. You know, they wanted to secure it. So Jenny, let's go ahead and let's pull up some of the numbers. How does that sound? We'll kind of go through it. We'll talk everybody through it to give them a first glimpse as to where we stand so far in the winter buying season. Again, coming off of a disappointing summer buying season, a summer buying season that saw sales that took us back to 2008. That was right at the symbolic start of the Great Recession when Lehman Brothers failed. So that's what 2025 summer was like. Let's take a look at winter, Jenny. Let's see what's going on right now in the first month. And granted, it takes momentum. Things get going. Art Basel, so maybe it'll really start rocking and rolling. And typically when you go under contract, Jenny, how long does it take to close on a deal? 30 days, 60 days, something like that?
Yeah, well, it depends, but basically, normally if it's cash, can be 30 days. If it's with some sort of financing, 60 to 90 days. And yeah, that's what it takes for a regular sale. Now, for pre-construction, whatever is delivered, it gets more interesting now when you tell me the stats. I just want to see.
Nice.
Today, like November 2025, compare like probably summer 2026. Just because I want to see what is going to be delivered in the first 6 months and how this going to affect our market.
Yep. And I should tell everybody before I go ahead and share the data, you tuned in at 4:00. So we're going to share this with you. We're then going to make this video on demand after the fact. So if you want to go back and watch it, you're going to have to see it on demand. Fortunately, unfortunately, it's going to be behind a paywall. We'll give you the first 20 minutes for free, and then the rest of it will be behind a paywall. If you do want to check back or if you're going to want to forward it to anybody or so, how do you get behind a paywall? You join the Miami Condo Investing Club. It's a club where we bring together people who are all condo-oriented, whether they're on the buy side, the sell side, maybe they're a DIYer, do-it-yourself. Maybe they are a buyer who's working with a broker and they're trying to figure out what's going on in the market. Maybe they're a lender. Maybe they're a regulator trying to get a sense of what's going on. We are studying this condo market and have studied this condo market probably closer than virtually anybody out there that's still standing in South Florida. So condos are what we do. It's what we focus on. We do a whole variety of things. If you do decide to consider joining the club, what you'll get is you're going to get new information, actionable intelligence that's coming out. You won't find it anywhere else on the street. We don't rip off other people's stuff. We do the research. We hit the streets like I did this weekend, like Jenny's always doing. We collect the information and then we share it with members of the club. The idea is to give you actionable information so you can go out and make whatever decision you want to do. Again, if you're a DIYer, you're a lender, anything, we're going to tell you what's going on real time, and we share it with you with the club. Once a month, on the second Wednesday of every month, I do something called a monthly meeting. It's a monthly virtual meeting. You tune in, I tell you where we were, where we are, where we're going, and then also, too, once a month, we get we do a meetup where people get together, and we're able to talk shop. You're able to pitch your services, go kind of take it all in. So if you're interested in condos and you're sick of the sell-side rosy Convention and Visitor Bureau, Chamber of Commerce talk about how, this bank is wrong with their projection and 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida and gateway to Latin America, even though we have an anti-trade perspective and an anti-immigrant perspective right now, that's besides the point. So basically, we're going to give you straight information. If you're interested, go to miamicondo.club and or tune in live 4:00 every workday, and you'll get a live podcast from me for free, gratis.
Yeah.
So
gratis. And remember, Peter, or remember to the audience, Peter is a consultant, so we can do consulting work. You can work with me if you want, or if you don't, you can consult with us. We do consulting advisory because we are people that really are straight shooters. We don't put the rosy pill on anything. We tell you how it is. Sometimes I tell people, do not invest in this place, and they still go because the emotion or whatever. And then I had to tell them, hey, I told you so. Remember, I told you. I'm gonna make sure that you understand that I told you not to. Or or the opposite. Do it, and then they say, "Oh, what I didn't do it when you told me." So just listen to us. We know exactly what's happening, and we're gonna tell you the truth, the real truth.
And, we've both been here for north of 30 years. So our perspective might be a little bit different than others. So let me go ahead, Jenny. We're going to start off, first of all, we're going to tell you what the current state of the market is in